Hello and welcome to another edition of the When Wrestlers Act podcast. I'm John Cronshaw and I am joined today by my good friend and award-winning radio DJ, Dean Ellison. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm well. It's good to be back on the airwaves.
Hey. So today we're going to be reviewing what I can only describe as Series 4, Episode 7 of the A-Team, an episode entitled Body Slam.
That description is apt and accurate in equal measure.
That's the kind of key as a journalist, you want to be accurate. The episode stars Hulk Hogan as a main character. It has peripheral characters of Mean Gene Okerlund and Greg the Hammer Valentine.
It has a plethora of supporting stars out there.
It opens up, you're in what looks to be a prison. Not a very good not a very good set. You've forgotten what we've watched, haven't you? It opens up.
I've just not put the sequence of events back in the right order. It did start off looking like they were picking someone up from a prison.
Yeah.
Turned out to be a wrestling arena.
Yes. They've got the searchlights out. They've got the guys come into the ring. And who's in the ring? It's Hulk Hogan and Big John Studd. So they're having a wrestle. And because it's on a TV show, they're wrestling around and there's all those kind of noises that you get on the Street Fighter. All those... And there's all these slow motion bits of wrestling. There's a brief cameo by Bobby the Brain Heenan playing himself.
And there's first-rate commentary from Mean Gene.
Yeah, this was a bit weird. I've been to a few wrestling shows in my time, and I have to say I've never noticed commentary being done by the announcer. No, so they're in the ring. Who should be in the front row? Yeah, the A-Team. The A-Team are there. Very
wanted men on the run for 10 years for a crime they did not commit, hiding out on the front row. We cottoned onto that one quick.
Yeah.
Plot hole alert.
So Murdoch's there. Face is there. No sign of Hannibal.
No sign.
Yeah, Mr. T, B.A. Baracus, he's there.
Hulkster has some special friend with him at ringside. We don't know who he is, but he's holding the belt.
Yeah, he's holding the belt. He's dressed in his Hulkamania merchandise. It's available now for $24.99 plus shipping and handling. The red T-shirt, the red cap. So he's there. He's on the front row. Hulk Hogan. He wins his wrestling match, of course. He retains the WWF title.
But how was it the A-Team weren't caught?
Well, that's
during
the point.
This match.
That's the point. And luckily, this is when Hannibal comes in. He's in one of his cunning disguises, and he goes, "Yeah, there's no FBI agents here. I've scouted the arena."
He's under the cover of a peanut salesman.
Yes,
touring the stalls,
which I think is a very good and pointless thing. So,
and in a true tribute to the military tactics and sense of fairness, Faceman does offer to do the next shift as a peanut salesman, looking out for military police.
Let me just kind of detract a bit here. I'm thinking the A-Team. They're meant to be this crack commando squad, and who's there? You've got Face, who looks like he's the should be an extra in a stockbroker movie from the 80s, and you've got Murdoch, who he frankly looks like he's never held a gun in his life. So how did these people end up in the army? That's what I want to know. And not only in the army, but clearly special forces.
One word for you: conscription.
Right.
That's how they ended up in the army.
Do you get conscripted to special forces, though? How were they chosen as crack commandos?
I'm sure as Vietnam went on, the Marines went from the motto of the brave and the few to the few. Right. And that's all they had left.
So it was a case of near the end of the war, they were in
good upwards mobility in the ranking structure.
The cream had rose to the top and been shot, and all that was left was the dregs. Although, B.A. Baracus, he looks like a double-hard bastard.
He seems to be a very good driver. They imply that's a skill he learnt in army, but how much driving did one have to do around the forests of Vietnam?
Well, talking about Vietnam, good segue there. We find out backstage when, Hulk Hogan is backstage. He sees B.A. Baracus and the rest of the A-Team. B.A. Baracus introduces them and shakes hands, and it ends up that Hulk Hogan and B.A. Baracus served together in Vietnam.
While also, we all know from past episodes, B.A. served in Vietnam
with the rest of the
A-Team. But they didn't serve with Hulk Hogan. He's never met them before.
Yeah. So, okay, there might be a slight hole there. Might be. But let's keep that aside. So, from what the story is they travel out in the A-Team van, and Hulk Hogan's explaining that they had an issue. I think it was that they were both involved in a firefight and ended up in military hospital.
But the question was, who saved who? That was a heated discussion.
It was a heated discussion that had evidently been going on for 20 years. So they were arguing, going back and forth, arguing about this.
And again, Hannibal showed off his leadership skills as the mediator with good breaks, such as, guys, you don't see each other very often.
Yeah.
Put these differences beside you. And also, look, you both had concussion. Neither of you remembers what happened for real.
And then it turns to more serious matters. Hulk Hogan's driving along in the car, and he tells them about his issue he's got. We've been told by this point that he's all the money that he's raising from his wrestling matches is giving to this charity, this mystery charity.
This charity that seems to be a swimming pool on Venice Beach for the children who don't want to go into the salt water.
So it's for the kids. And Hulk Hogan will do anything for the kids, you know that. It
says he's been giving them money, the WWF has been giving them money, yet somehow it's still in arrears at the bank.
Yeah, it's like when you give money to some like banana state in Africa, isn't it? It's like, oh yeah, it's for aid, and then the leader's there with his bling and his very
tax avoidance strategy.
So Hogan sat in the back of the A-Team van, and this is what he says. This is a line that was scripted for the episode. This is what somebody wrote and thought, this would be a good line for a real human to say. Hulk Hogan, in reference to his gym on Venice Beach, his kids club, he says, I've got a problem. A big problem. Bigger than the Hulkster. Now, it sounds like I'm reading it really badly there, but you can confirm with me that is how he read those lines.
That is definitely right, John. John could do a better rendition if he was a bit more pumped right now.
Yeah, unfortunately I haven't spent the 1980s on steroids and admitting that in front of a court of law, but that's why I'm not the Hulkster.
By this point in the episode, I think my favourite line had to come from Mean Gene. Clearly an improvised line where he said, the referee is admonishing Hulkster for hitting him in the head too many times.
Yes.
That man's got a good lexicon behind him.
Admonish is a word that doesn't get used enough, unfortunately. We've got this, we've got the setup now. And then it cuts to the Venice Beach Boys Club, the owner, who you described as Cagney and Lacey.
Yes.
It was one of them, perhaps.
Cagney and Lacey.
Yeah.
That was her name. I remember because the show was always on after Robson Jerome.
So the Cagney and Lacey's there, and three generic Italian mobsters come in.
See, I don't know if they were meant to be Italian, because later on we meet one of the mobsters' father, who's clearly kind of Eastern European.
Yeah,
or Russian, I thought he was meant to be.
But this guy was like, he could have been played by Al Pacino. It was the slick back Sicilian hair, the Italian suit. Although his name was Carter, so maybe not.
Well,
yeah,
we'll move on to that.
Move on. So they're there, and they're saying, we need to buy this gym, we need to buy this community centre, whatever it is. And Cagney and Lacey's there, and she's like, no, it's nothing to do with you. This is my father's business, and I'll keep it going.
And she's doing it to save the kids.
Yeah, it's for the kids because, the kids are going to... I don't know, if they're not going to this gym, then they're probably going to be on drugs and have a life of pain.
Swimming in the sea.
A life of street life, and that's not what you want. A little kid comes in, and Cagney and Lacey pulls out a gun. And you think, oh no, she's going to shoot the little kid.
He did startle her. And she was holding a gun.
Yeah,
for self-defense,
of course. And this is America, and the kid was black, so he might
in LA.
He might have had a gun
in LA.
Do you know what I mean? So if she did shoot him, as history's shown, I think it would have been fair enough.
Would this have been in the post-Rodney King world at the time?
No, this was what 1985. This episode. So,
really?
Yeah, this is very very much pre.
A chilling vision of what was to come.
So these mobsters are being threatening. The kid gets, ushered out. Door shut behind him. The door knocks again. And the mobsters are pissed off and they're like, kid, you need to go away. The door opens and who should it be but Hulk Hogan. and he comes in and he boshes them and he throws them out the window, causing probably hundreds of dollars worth of damage in the
to
process.
their already strained accounts.
Yes.
Maybe that's why they're running out of money, because Hulkster's a problem solver. He's a poison chalice. He's the money and the damage.
He keeps throwing, they're literally pissing money down the drain with the Hulkster involved. So he's throwing mobsters out the window.
It makes it sound like he's being charitable. It's more likely just compensation.
Exactly. So what happens then? The mobsters jump in their mobster car.
Yeah.
They drive off. They jump over a non-existent ramp, about 8 foot in the air. Next shot, you see the A-Team van jumping over the same ramp, over 8 foot in the air.
Being driven by 2 body doubles, Hulk Hogan's, is not very convincing.
And they're scraping round the streets. There's people diving hither and thither.
They race along the waterfront. So what happens next? The mobsters get away. They cleverly pull in front of a bus, which then blocks the A-Team van into an alleyway.
Brilliant.
And as Howling Mad Murdoch said as this chase commenced while he was left behind, I don't know what worries me more, what Mr. T will do if he gets hold of them, or what will happen to us if he doesn't get hold of them.
Yeah, so we brought back down again. We've had the drama, we've had the action, and now we're back, and we're kind of getting a bit of the background now.
A bit too much background.
Yeah, we know a lot about, they explain Cagney and Lacey's backstory, her father, and we find out that Mr. Carter, the mobster, he's a yacht dealer, and he never sells a yacht that's worth less than $1 million. Which raises a question: why are they bothered about this crappy little gym when, this guy's obviously as we find out later, he's 80% legitimate now.
80%.
Yeah, so there's obviously a lot of money rolling around.
Although if he deals largely in multi-million-pound yachts, and that's 80% of his business, the 20% of crime must still be a significant revenue. So while he said he's 80% legit, that 20% is still a fairly significant amount of crime.
I mean, it depends. Is he talking turnover or profit here? I mean, if he's working on razor-thin margins,
yeah.
If he's a bad businessman, if he's not very good, if he's selling $1 million yacht and buying it for $999,000, then, perhaps I can see the logic of doing this. And at this point, it's not explained what's so interesting about this gym. Why do they care?
Hannibal certainly has this line of inquiry. Plenty of other plots on the waterfront that they could buy and develop. Yeah. And of course, the guy didn't look like a property developer.
No, it doesn't make sense. He looks like a yacht dealer, damn it.
He looks like he's 80% yacht dealer and 20% trouble. But then Hulk Hogan comes up with their plan. He says to Mr. T, we're going to go down there, kick some doors in, send them a message.
Yeah. And then BA, he comes in and he goes, no, we got to have a proper plan. We've got to do disguises and
strategies and logistics, fool.
And then Hannibal comes in and he says, what's the line?
Just go and kick the doors in.
Yeah! So Hulk Hogan, he's the strategy guy all along. It's brilliant. Yeah, so Hulk Hogan and BA driving along in the A-Team van and have this really kind of deep and meaningful conversation about fear. What do you fear? What frightens you the most? Hulk Hogan's like, nothing. I'm not afraid of anything. Yeah.
Brave man.
And then B.A. Baracus, he's like, you must be afraid of something. You're meant to be human, damn it. I don't know if he comes out with that.
Not a robot.
Yeah. And he goes, no, I'm not afraid of anything. So that's established. Hulk Hogan, he's fearless. What a great guy. This dialogue is forced. It's awful. It's not the Royale with cheese.
To be fair, I think it's more because
Fiction.
Mr. T doesn't normally have this level of detailed scene involving another human, another adult.
Another adult who has the same limited capacity for dialogue.
But you have to remember, this is Terry Basala playing the role of Hulk Hogan perfectly. And this is what you would expect from Hulk Hogan, limited dialogue.
Can I just... I don't want to have to go back in my notes here. I'm just going to read you...
Off the top of your head.
A line that was in this. It said, I've got a problem. A big problem. Bigger than the Hulkster.
Brother!
He was saying this... He referred to himself in a third person while
that's because Terry Basala's playing the role of Hulk Hogan, and that's what Hulk Hogan would do.
But how egocentric to have that thing of, right, what's big? The only thing that I can think of that's really, really big is me.
did come across in the episode that the Hulkster was bigger than Mr. T.
Okay, so...
height-wise.
Yeah. But...
and that's the biggest thing in the A-Team.
So, let me go back. If we imagine the Hulkster is what his nickname for his penis. I've got a problem. A big problem. Bigger than the Hulkster. Yeah. He's got a problem bigger than his penis. And
wow.
Has he admitted in the mid-80s in a court of law that he heavily used steroids, then this problem could be quite small. It's a little logic loop by me. But there we go. So, where did we get to? We got to the...
We were getting the backstory of the woman running the community centre.
Mm.
Then he moved on to the backstory of the man who was trying to buy the community centre, where the plot got very, very detailed.
Yeah. So we're there, and we go back. We go to the yacht, and it's a yacht that was owned by a... I think they mentioned something. I don't know if it was a Russian oligarch or whatever the equivalent was in the 80s of a Russian oligarch who owned this yacht, who will remain nameless. He said, and Hulk Hogan and BA turn up, and for some reason I didn't see them in the van.
I imagine the van was broken after the 8-metre jump they did before. Probably wrecked the suspension, something rotten.
Yeah, so Face and Murdoch turn up. They're posing as a film crew with a presenter, and they're presenting a show that's called something like America's Richest Millionaires, or the lives of the rich and famous. And Hulk Hogan's... This
is an angle that proves to have very little to do with why they're even there, because they film a bit there.
Yeah,
and then it's not mentioned again afterwards.
Yeah, no,
they just start searching the boat.
Yeah, so they're wandering around the boat and essentially do a shakedown.
Yes.
Yeah,
they con that man good.
They mobster the mob.
They put him on a pressure point. They've got him, and his foot twists his arm into making a donation, doesn't he?
He's got a safe face in front of his.
That's why the camera's there.
Yeah.
So he has to go along with it and give them a check for 20,000.
That's 25,000.
25k.
Yeah. So
to go towards the charity that needs new windows.
Yeah. So which will pay for the windows, thankfully, and the compensation of obviously the injuries sustained by the the 80% legitimate businessmen who were thrown through the window. So they leave the boat in the A-Team van, and who should follow about 2 metres behind in their mobster car, but the mobsters.
The same mobster car they had been chasing earlier that day.
Yeah, just, the A-Team van's driving along casually, and this mobster car's following them, and it's fine, they're not that bothered, it's just happening.
Day in the life.
And they pull up at a gym, and it's an empty gym, it's closed, the lights are off, and Hulk Hogan, he comes out with the line of, "I'm looking for the light switch."
Which seems to be in the middle of the room.
Yeah, and he switches the light switch on, and who should be there but loads of wrestlers.
Hulk did warn them that they didn't want to do this here.
Yeah, and...
you say there's loads of wrestlers, but you know who wasn't there?
Who wasn't there?
Tugboat, who they were meant to be meeting.
But you know who was there?
Who was there, John?
Ricky Steamboat. You got to love Ricky Steamboat.
He didn't seem to get credited in the end. Credits. There was a few wrestlers, but Ricky was the only one I recognised.
Yeah, there was Greg the Hammer Valentine, he appeared later on as well.
Yeah,
I don't think he got credited either. But he wasn't particularly acting. He was just being.
He was
a
just doing in ring.
Yeah. They basically just kick the crap out of the mobsters. So all these wrestlers, they wrestle them.
They wrestle them up and leave it at that. They leave them in a pile of bodies and say, well, they've learnt their lesson. Let's cut to the next scene. Next, it gets off tangents, and Faceman is infiltrating the FBI by walking into the FBI, going to the gents' toilets and stealing a man's ID.
Yeah, he was wearing a very similar suit to other FBI agents. So
he was wearing a similar tweed suit.
Yeah.
That's all it took back then.
Yeah, so this was in the days before the Al-Qaedas and the 9/11s of this world. This was a more innocent time when you could just walk into FBI headquarters
on Venice Beach,
and you basically overhear someone else's conversation about a case, and then that's your in. That's how you get in. So he overhears someone's conversation about a case, and he goes up to the library or the archives or wherever it was, and just said, "Oh, they've got me on this whatever MacArthur case or something," and yeah, I've got.
He goes up to the one man who has a computer.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, they've not got you on that." So they've immediately got rapport there because they know that this case is a pain in the backside for all of them. So he looks them up and he finds out all this information about basically the background story of the old mobster and Cagney and Lacey's dad. And I think they do this quite cleverly. Did you notice what they did?
Run it by me again,
right,
John, for the benefit of our listeners.
I will paint you a picture. You've got this geeky guy sat at his computer. He starts reading out the list of offences, what happens, and then it blends so subtly into Hannibal telling it. It's seamless. It's amazing. It's like he's finishing the guy's sentence, but we're back
in a different scene.
Yeah, we're back at the gym with Hannibal, and he's explaining that this guy, this mobster, he'd robbed some gold bullion.
This is where the morals of the background characters start to get dubious.
What I got from this is I think that Cagney and Lacey's dad was meant to be a security guard.
He was a security guard
on basically the gold transport,
carrying 14 bars of bullion,
which were back in 1958 worth $76,000, but in 1985 they're worth $760,000. So obviously the guy who sells £1 million yachts every week is interested in another 760,000.
That would be from his 20% of the illegitimate business.
Yes.
The generic gangster's father
had
been involved in the heist of the gold van.
Yeah.
The inside guy was Cagney Lacey's father.
Yeah.
The other guard was killed as part of the job, and the mobster father went to jail for 30 years, and he's just got out, and he's come to cash in.
So yeah, we know we've got the missing gold in play, and Hannibal decides to go and confront the old mobster.
Under the cunning disguise of being the brother of the FBI agent who had originally investigated the case and has since died a pauper.
Yeah, but he wants in. He wants the gold. He wants a cut.
He doesn't play it straight like he's a fictitious dead brother.
So the mobster, the old mobster, he decides to go down to the lot and show them where it was buried. So Murdoch's there. He's in his orange jumpsuit, pretending to be a prisoner. He's digging up the box, and what's in the box? Nothing.
No,
the gold's gone. The gold has been taken, and there's a little note from Cagney and Lacey's dad saying the gold's been taken away, and he's hidden it somewhere else. And then at this point, the FBI arrive and military police to take away the A-team.
That's right, both arrive.
Yeah.
And I have to say, Cagney Lacey adjusts very well to finding out the father who she idolised and brought her up after her mother died young adapts very quickly to the fact her father double-crossed another security guard, got him murdered in order to get this gold.
And got involved with the mob and essentially...
She takes it on the chin because, who's she to judge?
Well, she's Cagney and Lacey, of course. So they end up in the FBI prison on Venice Beach.
Yeah, the same one of the high security standards.
Yeah, and the military police are there, and they're pissed off with the FBI. They're going, they're our prisoners, and the FBI have been like, well, we've been after these as well. They're still one of our officers' ID, and the military police we've been after the A-team for 20 years. And the FBI said, well, we've been after them for 10 minutes.
Boom!
Yeah. So that's it. It's brilliant. They're there. They're kind of rotting in a cell.
Oh.
But wait, who should turn up dressed as a general? Yeah. Who?
Howling Mad Murdoch.
Of course.
H.M. Murdoch.
Yeah. So he's there. He turns up and he's tells the guards outside, the military police, put your weapons away. This is the A-team we're dealing with.
You know what? I think that might be a reference to earlier in the episode when they were set up as a cameraman and reporter duo. Howling Mad Murdoch says, why do I always get the blue-collar jobs when it comes to impersonating someone? Why don't you let me impersonate someone more significant, someone important? Later on,
Wow.
he's already a general.
Where do you,
References within references.
You are reading this on so many different layers.
Whoa.
This is. You know, we were kind of saying this was bad writing. You know, earlier on we were saying how can a human being put this on the screen and say that this is something that another human being would say to another human being?
It's almost as if the bits which come out as nonsense are the bits Hulk Hogan speaks. Did he have a producer credit? I can't remember.
The Hulkster, brother. So the general's there. At least I think it's the general. He tells the soldiers to help him escort the prisoner away, and they end up getting the guns out and turning them on the soldiers.
Oh.
They get in the military police van and drive away.
Another fiendish escape.
Yeah. And where do they drive away to? Do they hide in the California underground? Do they become soldiers of fortune? No.
They've got a job to finish.
They go back to the place where they were arrested, like fools. Do the FBI come back and track them down at this point?
I think the FBI have their tail between their legs at this point. Their 10 minutes of hunting the A-Team has come to an abrupt and embarrassing end.
And the 20 years with the military police
carries on.
Yeah, so they don't think, oh, I wonder where they've gone. Have they gone back to the place where we arrested them? Or maybe that's the last place they'd look.
Well, it's a double bluff. The A-Team are all about the psychological game.
So then we cut, and we've heard earlier on that Hulk Hogan is going to wrestle at the Los Angeles State Arena to raise money for
the community centre.
For the community centre. And so he's having a match with Greg the Hammer Valentine, you know, that porky guy with his blonde mullet. But the mobsters have arrived with bags full of cash, which
we know they're bags full of cash because they have a dollar sign on them.
Yeah, it may as well just say swag across the thing. You know what I mean? And they could have looked less conspicuous if they'd gone in with black masks on, stripy t-shirts.
And I think it is implied that these bags of swag is the money Hulk Hogan had been earning for the charity.
Yeah. Oh well, I think that was obvious. So the mobsters are there. Hulk Hogan's there. He's in the ring. He gets the match won. He wins the wrestling match.
Like only the Hulkster can, brother.
And then Hulk Hogan catches up with the mobsters backstage and throws them through a table. And he gets the money.
But he had already beaten them up exactly the same way earlier on in the episode, so why didn't it just end there?
Yeah.
Plus, looking at the bags of money they stole, I don't think they stole more than $25,000 anyway, which is the money Hulk Hogan had bullied them out of earlier on.
So everything's sorted. Hulk Hogan's agreed to support the gym. The WWF are going to keep the gym going, and Cagney and Lacey's happy because they find the gold, they hand it into the FBI and get the reward.
See, I don't remember this bit. I don't remember them referring back to the gold again.
No, they definitely did.
Because I thought that was a bit of an open-ended thing to leave.
No, they definitely did. They referred to the gold. She'd handed it in. She did the right thing.
She did the right thing, but I imagine she glossed over the fact she knew where the gold was because her father was working with the mob and got another man murdered and buried the gold, but for some reason dug it up again and moved it. But left a note to let them know he'd moved the gold.
To where? And how did she find it? Where was it? Do you know what I mean?
I looked away for a second and I must have missed all this.
You did. And then we have the final scene. And this is where it comes full circle. Remember the conversation in the car?
The powerful one.
The one where Hulk Hogan admitted that he had no fears. And BA was there. He was saying, you must have some fears. You must be afraid of something. And Hulk Hogan denied it. He was like, I'm not afraid of anything. But this final scene, Hulk Hogan admits
he's afraid of failure.
No. If only. That would have been good. But no, he's afraid of being near water because he's afraid that every time he's near water, he throws somebody in. And who should be next to him near the water but B.A. Baracus.
T.
And they basically start trying to throw each other in the water.
I thought it looked like they were having a nice manly hug.
Yeah, and then it seems there's a moment where there's a bit of respect and they're like, ha, you're not going to throw him in the water. And then they try and throw each other in the water again and freeze frame, end of episode.
It looks like Mr. T won that battle.
Yeah, I mean, it was ambiguous. It was
ambiguous, morally.
Yeah,
and physically.
Well, the A-Team is ambiguous morally. And
ambiguous morals and clear good guys and bad guys is the recurring theme throughout this episode.
Yeah. Well, obviously, it was obvious who the good guy was. It was Hulk Hogan throughout.
Of course, he's a babyface through and through.
And I think he solved the problem. He solved the... I'll just go back through my notes. What was it?
Well, all he's done is prolong the problem. He set up that beachfront charity with some money to keep going, but he's not addressed the dreadful business model that seems to require lost gold, FBI rewards, the funding of the Hulkster, and the funding of the WWE for it to keep going.
Yeah, and we don't know what happened to the mobsters.
No.
They got thrown through tables and
multiple times.
And that's it. That's the end of it. We don't know what happened to the military police. We don't know what happened with the FBI. That was the end of it. Hulk Hogan, he came out with the line earlier in the episode. He said, I've got a problem. A big problem. Bigger than the Hulkster. Did he solve the problem?
No, he didn't.
Failure.
You know what?
Failure of an episode. Of
all this episode has been machismo and violence and fighting and threats. All they needed was an accountant and a business manager.
And jumping cars.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's it. That's all it was.
Oh, well.
And, yeah. Thanks for listening. I think that's the end of the episode.
That's the end of another episode of When Wrestlers Act.
Yeah. Follow us on the Facebook. It's WWA Podcast. On Twitter, at WWA Podcast. And whenwrestlersact.com. If you've liked what you heard, tell your friends. If you haven't, don't tell your friends. And
of course, don't forget to check on www.myspace.com/WWA.
We haven't got fucking MySpace.